Hi, and welcome to another mini-sode of the Diz Explorers podcast. This is Adrianne coming with number 2, our most requested mini-sode based on Disney films that have been forgotten. We kind of put it out there on social media to see what you guys would want to hear us talk about next, and I am super excited because everyone that voted chose Robin Hood. And if you've listened to us at all or followed me on social media at all, you'll know that Robin Hood is my favorite Disney film. If you ask me why, I'm not entirely sure that I could pinpoint an exact reason why it's my favorite. It's just always been my favorite, always. And as a child of the 80s and the 90s, you'd think I would pick, The Little Mermaid or The Lion King or something like that, but it's always been Robin Hood, and I make no apologies for that. So today, we're here to talk about why Robin Hood is kind of one of the forgotten movies. It's well animated, but we'll get into that a little bit more later. I feel like it has a great plot, good timing, excellent voice acting, but it has since in the years just kind of been forgotten and left to the wayside. So we're going to explore a little bit about why I think that is. So if you're not familiar with the movie Robin Hood, it is based on the classic Robin Hood tale, but utilizing animals as the characters instead of humans. And this was mostly done as an homage to Walt Disney. Shortly after the release of Snow White, he started to have an idea ruminate about adapting a story called Reynard the Fox. And it just never came about. And years later, an animator named Ken Anderson, animator and writer for Disney, came with the idea of animating Robin Hood. And again, putting the idea of using the foxes as the main characters. Again, to pay those respects towards Walt Disney. Initially, Robin Hood was actually praised by the critics. It's described as a movie that everyone can enjoy, from the parents to the children. It was very well received animation-wise, music-wise. It was actually nominated for an Oscar for one of its movies. Again, something we'll talk one of its songs. And again, we'll talk about that particular instance in a little bit. But as the years progressed, and as more and more people reviewed it as the years went on, and it was actually released in theaters twice, in 1973 and 1982, and then has had multiple releases on home video. The critics that have brought in reviews have progressively seen it less kindly. And it currently holds a tomato meter rating on Rotten Tomatoes at 52%, which means rotten. Take that as you may, as to whether or not you believe in Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't put much faith in it for that movie, just because I am clearly biased. But so then, what is it? What was the issue here? I think the number one reason is that it was rushed timing. There were many aspects of the development of this movie that caused it to be pushed back in the deadlines. They had a really hard time finding the appropriate voice actor for Robin Hood, which, being the main character, that's a very important thing. So that put them way over deadline. And so they had to rush to finish the film and get it out on time. One of the things that they did to cut into the actual development time and get it along quicker was that they lifted animation scenes from other movies to create the Robin Hood scene. So if you've ever seen Snow White, the scene where she's dancing in the cottage with the 7 dwarves, if you look at that animation side by side to a scene in Robin Hood where May Marian and the Merry Men are dancing in the forest, it's exactly scene by scene the same animation. You can see them lifting the dress at the same time, dancing with the different characters at the same time. It's lifted directly from there. But there's also scenes that have been lifted from The Jungle Book and several other films as well. So my opinion here is that Robin Hood was just rushed. Disney you have an expectation from Disney of perfection. Especially those of us who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and if you look at The Lion King, it is perfection. If you look at the later movies developed with Disney Pixar, there's, the overlying plot not only is well done and the voice acting is well done, everything is well done, but there's also layers and layers and layers, and these are one of the things that I felt got left out here. And again, guys, you know that I'm really, really fishing for things, right? Because I love this movie so much. But it is true. When you watch Robin Hood, it's just kind of a flat, the plot is the plot, the story is the story kind of movie. It doesn't have layers like if you're watching Inside Out or Zootopia or something like that. So I feel like the rushed aspect of it was one of the main reasons that it's not held up so well. Another is the music. I mentioned earlier that the love ballad called Love was nominated for an Oscar. But really, other than that, there aren't a whole ton of catchy songs. We kind of expect that from Disney films. Catchy songs, popular artists, but, it has the phony King of England, which is one of my favorite things, but other than that, it's just not particularly catchy. The final thing that I wanted to mention was just kind of this era of Disney filmmaking. If you've ever looked up the different ages or periods of Disney films, the initial ones are considered the Golden Age. The ones following that are the Silver Age, and then Robin Hood came along after that. It was a movie that was released in the 70s, and that's called the Bronze Age, where you had films like Winnie the Pooh, which, while everyone knows Winnie the Pooh, perhaps not so much in that movie. You know all the short films, you know the books, you know the cartoons, but the actual film Winnie the Pooh, again, was kind of released in that same era. So it just wasn't a great overall time for the Disney company, I think. After that, it got a little bit worse. It's described as the Dark Age, which Jessica's going to be bringing us another mini-sode about the Black Cauldron, which is in that era, before finally reaching its renaissance at the end of the 80s with the Little Mermaid. So Robin Hood, I feel like, is just kind of a victim of circumstance almost. It was an idea that had been really hashed out for a long time, but maybe not done in the way that we would expect Disney films to have been done. It was clearly rushed, and we'll have some pictures posted of comparing the scenes so that you can see how alike that they are, because they really were just lifted right out. And then just overall, like I said, just the timing of the whole thing just wasn't great. Now, if you want me to give you some reasons to go back and why I think that you should give the movie a try, is not only is Robin Hood, the character, a great example for children. It's all that, not the stealing part maybe, but, giving back to the poor, taking care of those that are less fortunate than you. But the side characters are great. Little John is hilarious. Lady Cluck is hilarious. Prince John is at the same time hilarious, but also terrifying when you realize the danger and the sadness and the misery that he was able to inflict with the power that he was given by his brother. And then just all of the other little characters. The bunnies are really cute. There's a turtle, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there's a turtle who, is very, very timid and shy and scared, and he, hides in his shell. So just give it a shot. I love it. I love the plot. I think the timing is good. The kind of penultimate action scene at the end of the movie is really exciting. And also I think that the animation there is really top notch. There's a lot of fire. And if you've ever noticed fire in animation, it's kind of like water. It's a very difficult thing to animate properly. And I think it was very, very well done here. So even though time seems to have forgotten Robin Hood, I have not, and I hope that you guys have not. And I hope you'll go back and give it a shot if you've seen it and kind of forgotten about it. I hope that you will watch it for the first time if you've never seen it, and share it with your children or with your friends, because I certainly have done that, and I have enjoyed watching my children watch my favorite film. Please be sure to let us know what you think about Robin Hood, what you think about other movies that we may have mentioned that have been forgotten. And as always, remember to chat with us on social media. You can find us on Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook at the Dis Explorers Podcast. So thanks again for listening. This was Adrianne, and I hope you have a wonderful day.